What happens when two of martial arts cinema's most controversial figures cross paths? One claims he was offered $25,000 to assassinate the other. One says he stopped a deadly conspiracy. Both insist they've worked for the CIA. Both have been called frauds by their peers, and both have built entire careers on stories that seem too wild to be true. This is the untold story of Steven Seagal versus Frank Dux, a tale so bizarre that even Hollywood couldn't have written it. And trust me, you won't believe where this rabbit hole leads, because what we're about to uncover isn't just about two martial artists. It's about the power of myth, the nature of celebrity, and how far people will go to protect their legends. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, we dive deep into the untold stories of martial arts legends, Hollywood controversies, and the thin line between truth and mythology. Today's story has it all. We're talking about secret agents, underground fighting tournaments, assassination plots, and two men who have spent decades defending their reputations against an army of skeptics. Before we get started, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. This video took weeks of research, and if you appreciate deep dives into martial arts history, you'll want to be here for what's coming next. Now, let's talk about two men who have become almost as famous for their disputed claims as for their contributions to action cinema. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll understand why this story matters more than you might think. Steven Seagal became a major action star in the late 1980s and 1990s, known for starring in films like Above the Law, Hard to Kill, and Under Siege. He holds a 7th Dan black belt in Aikido and was reportedly the first non-Japanese person to operate an Aikido dojo in Japan. His movies made hundreds of millions of dollars at the box office, and soon he became the face of Aikido in American action cinema. For a time, Seagal was everywhere, on movie posters, in magazines, and on talk shows discussing his mysterious past. But Seagal's reputation extends far beyond his legitimate martial arts credentials. Many of his film characters have elite past affiliations with the CIA, Special Forces, or Black Ops, and Seagal himself has made similar claims about his real life. The characters he played were always former government operatives with shadowy pasts. They knew things they shouldn't know. They had skills that couldn't be explained. And Seagal encouraged audiences to believe that maybe, just maybe, he was playing a version of himself. In interviews throughout the 1980s and 90s, Seagal told the Los Angeles Times that he trained CIA agents, saying his students saw his abilities with martial arts and languages. When GQ magazine asked if he'd worked for the CIA, Seagal cryptically responded that he wouldn't even admit to working for the government, but that he'd done things he was very sorry for. This kind of mysterious non-denial became Seagal's trademark. He never quite confirmed the wild stories, but he never really denied them either. He let the mystery build, and audiences ate it up. The problem? In 2003, a retired intelligence officer named Herbert Saunders, who worked as Seagal's security detail, told the New York Post that Seagal had asked him to use his CIA abilities to steal DEA files and even kill someone, adding that he didn't think Seagal could sort out fantasy from that. Saunders' revelations were damaging because they came from inside Seagal's own circle. This wasn't a journalist or a rival making accusations. This was someone who had worked closely with Seagal, someone who had seen behind the curtain. If you thought Seagal's claims raised eyebrows, Frank Dux's stories would make them shoot off your forehead entirely. Because while Seagal's claims were vague and mysterious, Dux's claims were specific, detailed, and completely unverifiable. Frank Dux claims he was trained as a ninja by a man named Senzo Tiger Tanaka and won a secret martial arts tournament called the Kumite in 1975. His alleged victory served as inspiration for the 1988 film Bloodsport starring Jean-Claude Van Damme. The movie became a massive hit. It launched Van Damme's career and made the Kumite a legendary event in martial arts culture. Millions of people watched Bloodsport and believed they were seeing a true story. The problem is that nobody in Japan's ninjutsu circles knows who Senzo Tanaka is, and there's no record of him ever training, competing, or being associated with martial arts. Dux claimed to have achieved several world records at the Kumite, including 56 consecutive knockouts and a knockout punch in 0.12 seconds, records that only he can verify. Think about that for a second. A knockout punch in 0.12 seconds. That's faster than most people can blink, and nobody saw it except the people at a secret tournament that nobody can prove ever happened. But wait, it gets wilder. Dux served in the Marine Corps Reserve from 1975 to 1981 and claimed he was sent on covert missions to Southeast Asia and awarded the Medal of Honor. However, his military records obtained through the Freedom of Information Act show he never served overseas and received no awards. The Medal of Honor is America's highest military decoration. It's not something you can just claim. Every recipient is documented and honored, and Dux wasn't on the list. Dux's response, he states the military sabotaged his records to discredit him. In Dux's world, the lack of evidence isn't proof that something didn't happen, and it's proof of a cover-up. It's proof that powerful forces are working to silence him. Here's where things get really interesting. What both Seagal and Dux share an almost identical playbook for building their legends. It's like they read from the same handbook on how to create an unshakable mythology around yourself. Both claim CIA connections that can't be verified. Both have military or security backgrounds that they've allegedly vanished. Both have made claims about their martial arts achievements that their peers dispute. And both respond to skepticism by spinning even more elaborate tales. When you challenge them, they don't back down. They don't admit mistakes. Instead, they double down and add more layers to the story. According to author Eric Lichtenfield, when Dux's exploits are questioned, he counters by exploiting his lack of evidence and spinning it into even wilder stories. What kind of stories? Dux claims he no longer has the ceremonial sword from the Kumite because he sold it trying to buy freedom for orphans he later rescued from pirates. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pirates. Modern-day pirates in the real world. And Frank Dux, former Kumite champion and ninja warrior, rescued orphans from them. It sounds like a rejected screenplay, but Dux presents it as fact. Similarly, many martial artists have stated that Seagal practices bullshido rather than legitimate martial arts. Yet he continues to claim he's taught techniques to UFC champions like Anderson Silva. Bullshido is a term the martial arts community uses for fake martial arts, and it's a combination of the words BS and Bushido. And it's exactly what critics accuse both Seagal and Dux of practicing. According to Frank Dux, someone once offered him $25,000 to assassinate Steven Seagal, Buddha Dragon Ranker. Let that sink in for a moment. One controversial martial artist claims he was offered money to kill another controversial martial artist. This is where the story moves from questionable to completely absurd. Because even in the wild world of Hollywood martial arts drama, this stands out as particularly strange. As one martial arts publication noted, this story is so strange it doesn't even begin to make sense. Firstly, because Seagal is a movie director with no real vendettas or involvement in illicit activities. And secondly, why would anyone approach Frank Dux as a hitman? Seagal makes action movies. He's not a mob boss or a drug dealer. There's no logical reason why anyone would want him assassinated. And even if someone did, why would they ask Frank Dux to do it? But here's the twist. Dux also claimed he stopped a plot to assassinate Steven Seagal. So which is it, Frank? Were you offered money to kill Seagal, or did you heroically save him from assassination? Both versions of the story exist in different interviews and articles. Sometimes Dux is the potential assassin who turned down the job. Sometimes he's the hero who uncovered the plot and saved Seagal's life. Both stories exist in the Dux mythology, and like so many of his claims, there's no record of any of this other than what Dux has said, Buddha Dragon. The irony here is almost too perfect. Two men famous for making unverifiable claims about their lives are now connected through another unverifiable claim about an assassination plot that may never have existed. Let's take a step back and look at what we can actually verify about both men, because despite all the myths and legends, both Seagal and Dux have accomplished real things in their lives. We need to separate fact from fiction. Now, what's real about Seagal? Seagal studied Aikido in Japan and earned legitimate credentials. He opened dojos in America and taught students who went on to have successful martial arts careers. He became a major movie star who helped popularize Aikido in Western cinema. His first film, Above the Law, was a commercial success. Under Siege earned over $100 million domestically. For a solid decade, Seagal was one of the biggest action stars in Hollywood. However, his ex-wife, Miyako Fujitani, has disputed many of his claims about his time in Japan, including details about how he earned his black belt. There's also the famous story of legendary judoka Jean LaBelle allegedly choking Seagal unconscious on the set of Out for Justice after Seagal claimed he was immune to being choked. Jean LaBelle is a legend in the martial arts world. He's trained countless champions and worked on hundreds of films. When he tells a story, people listen. And his story about Seagal has become one of the most repeated tales in martial arts circles. What about Dux? Well, Dux did serve in the Marine Corps Reserve and did work as a fight choreographer on films including Bloodsport, Lionheart, and Only the Strong. He also developed his own martial arts system called Dux Ryu Ninjutsu, which he still teaches. So Dux has legitimate fight choreography credits, and he did work in the film industry. He does teach martial arts. These are real, verifiable accomplishments. But his claims to have worked for the CIA have been dismissed by multiple CIA directors and high-ranking military officials, including Robert Gates, General Norman Schwarzkopf Jr., and Major General John K. Singlaub. These aren't random names. These are some of the most powerful military and intelligence officials in American history. And they all say Dux's claims are false. He lost lawsuits against both Jean-Claude Van Damme and Soldier of Fortune magazine, with a jury foreman stating they found Dux's testimony less than credible. When a jury foreman publicly states that they didn't believe your testimony, that's not a good sign. It means your story didn't hold up under legal scrutiny. Here's what makes this story so fascinating. While there's no evidence that these two ever actually fought, they've been fighting a different kind of battle for decades, a battle for credibility. In the age of the internet, maintaining a mythology has become harder than ever. Every claim can be fact-checked, every story can be investigated, and both Seagal and Dux have felt the pressure. As one online commenter astutely noted, Seagal is arguably the better mythmaker because he rode his movie fame to various positions, including becoming a reserve deputy sheriff and developing a friendship with Vladimir Putin. While Dux was exposed as questionable relatively early in the martial arts community, CBR community, Seagal leveraged his fame into real power and connections. He became friends with world leaders, and he got a badge. He turned his movie persona into something resembling reality. But in another sense, Dux might be winning. His story inspired one of the most beloved martial arts films of all time. Bloodsport remains a cult classic that martial artists of my generation grew up watching and rewatching. As one action film blogger put it, he's carried his love of martial arts for 30 years in large part due to the story of Frank and his victory in the Kumite bulletproof action. Whether or not the Kumite ever happened, Dux created a mythology that inspired millions. Think about how many kids started martial arts training because they saw Bloodsport. Think about how many dojos have a poster from that movie on their wall. Dux's story, true or not, had a real impact on martial arts culture. Seagal, meanwhile, has become something of a punchline in recent years. His more recent films have gone straight to video, and he's become more famous for his political associations and reality TV appearances than for his martial arts. He appeared on a reality show about being a deputy sheriff. He got citizenship in Russia. He became more of a curiosity than a serious action star. So let's address the question everyone's thinking. What if these two actually fought in their prime? Who would win? This is the question that martial arts fans have debated in forums and comment sections for years. It's impossible to answer definitively, but it's fun to think about. From a technical standpoint, they represent completely different martial arts philosophies. Seagal's Aikido is based on joint locks and using an opponent's momentum against them. While Dux claims expertise in ninjutsu, which theoretically includes striking, weapons, and espionage techniques. Aikido is beautiful to watch. It's about flowing with your opponent's energy, redirecting force, and using minimal effort. Ninjutsu, at least in theory, is about adapting to any situation and using whatever works. However, UFC commentator Joe Rogan and fight analyst Jack Slack have pointed out Aikido is largely ineffective in real combat situations and would never work against a trained fighter. The problem with Aikido in real fighting is that it requires your opponent to attack you in specific ways. In a real fight, trained fighters don't give you the kind of openings that Aikido techniques need. The problem with evaluating Dux's fighting ability is that we have no verifiable record of him competing in any legitimate martial arts competitions. His claimed records from the Kumite can't be confirmed because, according to him, it was a secret tournament. If Dux had really won a tournament with 56 consecutive knockouts, you'd think someone would have filmed it. You'd think there would be some kind of documentation, but there's nothing. So we're left with a fascinating paradox, a hypothetical fight between two men whose actual fighting abilities are themselves subject to debate. It's like asking who would win in a fight between two characters from different fantasy novels. The question assumes facts that may not exist. Now, why does any of this matter? It matters because these stories reveal something fundamental about human nature and the martial arts community. We want our heroes to be superhuman. We want to believe in secret tournaments and covert operations and warriors who walk among us with deadly skills. In an age where everything is documented and verified, we're hungry for mystery. We want to believe that there are still secrets out there, that not everything can be explained or proven. Both Seagal and Dux tapped into this desire. They gave us mythology. In an age of information, they created legends that feel more interesting than the documented reality of their lives. And perhaps most importantly, they both contributed something real to martial arts cinema and popular culture, even if the stories surrounding them are suspect. So what's the truth about Steven Seagal versus Frank Dux? The truth is that there probably never was a real versus. The assassination claims appear to be another tall tale in Dux's collection of unverifiable stories. These two controversial figures likely never had any significant interaction beyond perhaps crossing paths in the small world of Hollywood martial arts. And they exist in the same universe, but they're like parallel lines that never quite meet. They're connected by their shared approach to building legends, but not by any actual rivalry or conflict. But in a way, that makes the story even more perfect. Two men who built careers on blurring the line between fact and fiction are connected by a story that might itself be fiction. It's myth meeting myth, bullshitto meeting bullshitto. Like I said earlier, the real battle between Seagal and Dux isn't physical. It's a battle for who can maintain their mythology in the face of modern skepticism and fact-checking. And in that battle, they're both still fighting decades after their Hollywood peaks. Because in today's world, where every claim can be investigated and every story can be verified, maintaining a mystery is harder than ever. But both men are still trying it. Whether you see them as frauds or as entertainers who gave us compelling stories, one thing is undeniable: they've both left an indelible mark on martial arts cinema and popular culture. They changed how we think about martial arts in movies, and they influenced a generation of action films. And their stories, whatever the truth behind them, became part of martial arts folklore. If you enjoyed this deep dive into martial arts mythology, let us know what you think. Are Seagal and Dux misunderstood legends, or are they cautionary tales about believing your own press? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every comment, and I'm genuinely curious what you think. Do these stories make martial arts more interesting, or do they damage the credibility of legitimate martial artists? Let me know. And hey, if you want to support the channel and help us make more content like this, consider becoming a member. All you have to do is click on the subscribe button and tap the bell to get notifications when more videos like this come out. You'll get early access to videos, behind-the-scenes content, and your name in the credits. Until next time, train hard, question everything, And remember, sometimes the most entertaining stories are the ones we can't quite prove.